This video will explain the Armored Core any percent speedrun performed without any restrictions on failing missions or going out of bounds. I should emphasize up front that this speedrun is honestly not great as a watch in real time, but it is a route that fully exploits everything about Armored Core, and so I hope you'll enjoy an annotated run with commentary explaining the choices made. A note about versions: this speedrun is done on the Japanese PSTV version of the game. PSTV has the best load times, and the text boxes scroll faster on the JP version, important for when we're rapidly accepting missions. There are 4 required missions in Armored Core. The first of these is the Raven Test, an introductory mission the player completes using a default AC. This AC is not very good. Our best DPS option is not the rifle or the missile, but is instead our laser blade. And the reason for this is because there is a huge damage multiplier when striking from the air. Here I'm going to do some short hops to try and keep the enemy on the ground, and then you can see I'm able to hit it twice with that specific air swing, where I'm doing a particular animation. I'm going to do it again here with the second one, where I'm going to get one strike and then finish it off with a strike on the ground. That strike on the ground does the default damage for the laser blade, but again, you're getting a huge damage multiplier by approaching it from the air. This is important in some later Armored Core speedruns, especially Master of Arena. Okay, so now I'm going to talk at length about the structure of Armored Core, specifically the mission structure. But before that, I need to mention that in this first mission that we select, we're going to be picking up a rocket launcher. This is one of a set of hidden parts that is hidden in missions throughout the game. And the reason that we're picking this up is just to sell for cash. We don't actually need it, but it will supplement our cash for our end game builds. Earlier in this video, I said there are 4 required missions in a playthrough of Armored Core. Okay, so how many missions are there in a playthrough of Armored Core? There's a few different ways to answer this question because a playthrough of Armored Core does not comprise a linear set of missions. As shown on the right side of the screen, it's really based on a timeline counting from 0 to 36. The Raven Test takes place at time 0, and at any given point along the timeline, missions are available dependent on where you are on the timeline, what missions have already been completed, and later on, as I'll point out, which corporation, a Chrome Corporation or Murakumo Corporation, the player has implicitly sided with based upon which missions they have selected. So you might be wondering then, hey PMC, why are you explaining the structure of the game rather than talking about what's going on the screen right now in this speedrun that, presumptively is being watched? And the answer is there's not really too much to talk about on screen, because what I'm doing is starting a mission and then immediately opening up the menu and aborting that mission. Now, in Armored Core, what happens is I'm still advancing time. Every time I do this, I start a mission, I immediately open up my menu and cancel that mission, and time has advanced 1 tick. And this is basically how the game's designed. Now, I'm doing it this way, where I'm failing or I'm intentionally exiting, but you could also, for example, lose all your armor points, fail another objective. For example, you failed to protect something, or you could leave the bounds. And the same thing would happen if you were just playing this casually. The mission timeline would advance while you didn't actually complete the mission. Now, presumably, if you didn't earn income to get better parts, you would fail later missions, but of course, this is a speedrun, so we have a plan for that. Now, on screen, as I mentioned, there is a plan, and you can see in the top right-hand corner, there is a chart. Now, this chart is a chart that I adapted from a Japanese runner and shows from left to right the timeline from 0 to 36. Specifically, what it shows is when missions are available, because any given mission in Armored Core can be available, say, from, spot 12 to spot 14. And so if you did that mission during spot 12, then it's not going to be available in spots 13 or 14. But if you did that mission in spot 12 and failed it, then it would still be available in 13. And you can see that where I'm picking a mission and aborting it, and it's still available subsequently. Oftentimes, I'm just choosing the first mission from the list of missions that we have available to progress. Now, there are 3 situations in which I don't want to be picking always the first mission for a selection of missions at any point in the timeline. Those situations are when I'm picking up one of the parts that we need, such as the rocket launcher from earlier, or the generator that we'll be picking up, when we're going to be getting cash advances so that we can use that money for our final build, or which missions we'll be picking so that we can influence which one of 2 possible end paths we get. We need to make sure that we get the mission Destroy Justice as our anti-penultimate mission, which is one of the 4 required missions. If you're watching this and you're thinking, PMC, why would you do this? You're not actually playing the game. And here's the thing, I got good news for you. There are categories that forbid failing missions. The most popular category for Armored Core is the no fail missions, no out of bounds category. And I've also experimented with a no fail missions category just because I enjoy going out of bounds so much in this game. You can find links to personal bests of mine in both of those categories below. And if you're interested in a Speedrun Explained for those routes, please comment and let me know. Okay, good news! We finally got through all the aborts. We're now at the final set of 3 missions in the game, and so that means it's time to sell a few of our things, including all of our current weapons, in order to pick up a grenade launcher. This is what we're going to use to quickly pass the next mission. So this next mission is going to be called Destroy Justice, and it exposes an interesting fact about Armored Core, which is that the coordinate system wraps around if you should ever happen to reach the edge of the coordinate system. Now, later on, we'll be taking advantage of that with our own physical unit, but for right now, what we can do is use this grenade launcher that we picked up, and that will enable us to fire grenade shots into space. So yeah, instead of traveling the direction the game wants us to, we just go ahead and pop a few shots off into the cosmos. Those shots are actually going to hit the far side of the level, and the blast damage will wrap around through the coordinates and destroy our objective from the other side. And as you can see there, after 4 shots, you can do it in as few as 3, but after 4 shots in this particular run, I was able to activate the end of the level and pass and go on my merry way. Okay, so now that we've done that mission, we have created the fall of one of the corporations as seen here in this lovely video, where a drone murders this man who's just hung up his old telephone. And now we're in the post-corporate period where nothing bad is going to happen. As a speedrunner, what we're going to do is finally put together our out-of-bounds build. For the final 2 missions in the game, we will be taking advantage of an out-of-bounds glitch that we can use to clip through anything in our way. The way that this out-of-bound glitch works is that we need a particular combination and then a particular animation that is glitched. Now that combination is a combination of parts. In particular, we need a specific core, the default core, the XCA00, and then we need the AN3001 arms. You can also use another set of arms that have a big shoulder. The 3001s are just better because you can more easily equip other things with them. They're lighter than the other option. And then you also need sufficiently quick legs. Here we're going to use the LN501. But those 3, it's the arms, the core, the legs. That's what you need in order to go out of bounds. And the way that the out of bounds works is that when you are transitioning from a left to right strafe or a right to left strafe, while doing that, there is a certain frame window where you can then press down on the D-pad, and that will cause the Armored Core unit to move back, but it'll enter a glitched walking animation that'll cause it to pass right out of bounds. So the application of this out of bounds glitch is that in this level, I'm going to do the bare minimum that I need to do, which is to activate 2 dialogue line triggers. This one, I'm falling through the ground and then holding forward to fall into this room, which activates the first dialogue line trigger. And then I'm going to use this particular vent once I clip out of bounds, I walk over into the vent, and this vent is an excellent setup point because what I can do is I can use this vent to ascend and avoid anything around me. There are lots of invisible rooms. You can't see the rooms from out of bounds, and also we can't fall through the floor because if we fall through the bottom of the coordinate system, we'll wrap around top and instantly fail the mission. So the second trigger point is the trigger point that activates the enemy, and this is the enemy we need to defeat in order to end the level. This is the AC Sledgehammer. Here I'm going to use the only weapon I brought, which is the laser cannon that's being augmented by an option part. And here he plays really nice. He can go up and down, he can knock you off this hill, this slope, but thankfully we get it pretty easy here, and that's an easy job done for this particular mission. Now it's time for the final mission in the game, called Destroy Floating Mines. Now, if you've played this game casually, you probably know this as the mission where you have to defeat two rooms of enemies, and then you have to deal with 9-ball and these tall shafts with these moving cubes, and we're going to cut all that out. Now, things aren't going to be as simple as you probably expect them to be. We do have to activate this first room. As you can see here, I open this door, and then I get away. It could technically be possible to go out of bounds right away, but it would be too hard to do so because the shots from the enemies would be interrupting the animation. And again, the glitched walking animation is the thing that we really, really need in order to make this work. But of course, we do finally get it, and then what we do is we follow along the path. We're able to see the area of the level as long as we sort of follow it along. We can get around, we can skip those enemies who are very mad at us. They apparently can see us, but of course they can't shoot us. And then we fall down into this next area where we do have to fight the next room of enemies. Now for this next room, we have 4 enemies in here. 2 red enemies that move a lot and deal a lot of damage, and then 2 black enemies that move very slowly and take a few more hits to deal with. Ideally, we go for the red enemies first if they line up for us. Otherwise, we focus on the red enemies. Usually, I walk inside the door there and position myself in one of these corners in order to get them to line up. I think in this particular example, I have some trouble tracking down the second one of them because he gets in the one corner and then quickly jumps over top of me. And you can see it takes me several years to track him down. But again, deal with him eventually, and then that's it. The red enemies are very, very weird. I think it's a good example of how they can behave. As soon as those 4 enemies are destroyed, we're able to move on to the second portion of the level. In the previous mission, I mentioned that we couldn't fall through the bottom of the coordinate system because it would cause us to appear at the top of the map, and there is a failure zone. However, this mission takes place entirely in what's considered an indoor area, and so there are no failure zones at any portion of the map. Here we're able to wrap through the coordinate system and immediately fall from the bottom of the map into the top of the map, and as it happens, our final objective is directly above our starting position. And so we're able to fall in and destroy the computer and win the game. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this annotated video with the middle portion sped up. I know the Armored Core 90% speedrun is a weird one, but I think it's a really interesting one that takes advantage of all of the features of a very interesting game. If you're interested in more videos like this from any of the games I speedrun, please comment below and let me know. If you'd like to see other particular Armored Core speedruns, whether it be another category from this game or another Armored Core game generally, please let me know too. Thank you so much.